First, you want to gather all of your ingredients. You're going to need 3/4 cup of white sugar. Organic cane sugar is usually the best recommendation. Then you're going to need 2 to 3 tablespoons of loose leaf, high quality black tea. You always want to use black tea because it's going to have the best benefits of the kombucha making process and the highest amount of polyphenols. I like to use 3 tablespoons because I like mine to just be dark and strong. Then you're going to brew 4 cups of filtered tap water, and you're going to let that steep for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes is up, you're going to want to strain the tea into your mother jar. And I just use a regular strainer. You can definitely use something that is a bit finer than this, but I really don't mind if a little bit of loose leaf tea gets into my kombucha. Then you're going to want to add 8 cups of filtered cold water. This is going to cool down your tea concentrate that you just made, because you don't want your tea to be too hot because it could actually kill the positive good bacteria that's in your Scoby or your starter liquid. And starter liquid is basically just raw, unflavored kombucha. You're going to need at least 2 cups of that to start your first batch of kombucha. There's a temperature gauge on the side, so you want the kombucha to be about room temperature or somewhere between 70 to 82 degrees so that you don't kill the good bacteria. Give it a good stir to make sure that the sugar is dissolved. And you do need to use sugar because the yeast in the tea is going to eat the sugar and basically fart out the carbon dioxide, and that's what's going to cause a small amount of carbonation in your kombucha. And during this process, I'm taking a couple cups out of my sweetened black tea to feed what is called a Scoby hotel. So I have a little bit of starter liquid, and then I'm adding a little bit of sweetened black tea to my Scoby hotel so that I can continually grow Scobies and hopefully share them with friends that want to start making kombucha as well. The Scoby hotel does need to be fed. It needs food because it is a live culture. Then you're going to add 2 cups of starter liquid, and this is basically just raw unflavored kombucha. You'd need this for the good bacteria to develop and to develop a Scoby on top of what you've already made, and for the kombucha to complete the chemical process of fermentation. Next, I'm adding my Scoby. I basically grew this out of 3 batches of kombucha. Yes, it looks like a giant cream-colored booger, and the dark stuff on the bottom is actually yeast that was collected from the tea, but all of that is good stuff. None of it is mold. It is perfectly safe. I mean, obviously, you don't want to eat that thing because that would just be like eating a giant booger, but that actually will keep anything bad out of your brew and help to grow the good bacteria. Then you're going to cover it with a cloth of some kind. You can use a coffee filter. If you use cheesecloth, I recommend folding it several times and then securing it with a rubber band, or in my case, a hair tie. Then you're going to store that in a cool, dark place for a week. On the same day that I was making a new batch, I was also completing another batch. So I'm going to show you the full process. So once your kombucha is ready, when you should give it a good stir up all that yeast, and you're going to see some mild carbonation. And then you're going to want to pour it into a measuring cup, something that makes it easier to pour. And make sure that you have a strainer and the different fruits that you'd like to use, preferably pureed in a blender or a food processor, and then also a funnel. So I'm going to be reusing jars that I purchased regular kombucha in from the store. And this first batch, I'm going to be using pureed strawberries. And these little baby food containers that I had from having kids are just the perfect size for the perfect amount of fruit to put in your fermentation too. So during the second fermentation, you're going to put some type of fruit or flavoring into your kombucha. Fruit is always recommended. And some people will add extra sugar to it to increase the carbonation. I personally don't, because I like to avoid additional sugar. And then after 3 to 5 days, you can put those bottles in the refrigerator to stop the fermentation process. And once you're ready to drink, you can open them up very carefully. I'll show you how to do that later. And I basically strain out the fruit solids and then drink the kombucha. The next flavor I'm trying is watermelon. And you always want to make sure that your bottles, the caps are screwed on really tight. And as for this next jar, I'm going to try pureed pear and pureed apple. Now this last video is a very important part that I wish somebody would have warned me about. Sometimes the carbonation gets super crazy at the end of fermentation too. So your best bet is to get a catch bowl and put your bottle inside the bowl, and then put a Ziploc bag on top of it and use a Ziploc bag to unscrew the cap. It's gonna bubble over, and then all of the excess will be caught in the bowl. And then you can just dump the jar into the bowl and then strain out the fruit solids. Sorry that you can't really see what's going on here. I had a bad angle. But this is incredibly important because I've had bottles explode all over the place, and it looked like somebody just blew fruit chunks all over my kitchen. So I'm basically just putting all the kombucha in there. I had some spillover. All of the fruit chunks are in the strainer because I don't like to chew my kombucha. I just like to drink it. And then once you've strained that out, you can either drink it right away. I like to squeeze all the extra juices out of mine. You can either drink it right away, or you can put the cap on and put it back into the refrigerator.